when you get slaw cut as fine as this, you'll certainly appreciate eating it. The crowning feature of the set is the cutter that I'm going to show you now. The crowning feature of the set is known as the champion vegetable. This is known as the champion vegetable. Now, when you want to make some real fine now, when you want to make some real fine this in the mix of the flour, fine this in the mix of the flour, that goes in the mix of the flour, rich Tennessee. Did you ever try to chop up Tennessee? Did you ever try to chop up Tennessee? Sometimes you chop the ends off your fingers. When you want to chop up a little nuts for cake, cooked meat, clams for chowder, soup greens to throw into your soup, making a little pepper or chicken hash is just a few strokes rolling it up and down. Why, here is without a doubt the meanest thing in the world to cut parsley. Put that in a grinder, you really grind it too fine. This machine, instead of crushing the parsley, cuts it quick, clean, and dry, leaving every bit of the juice and every bit of the flavor. Now, to clean this machine, you press the button. Rinse it out in a little water. When you're through using it, hang it up and let it dry. Here's one here that every lady should have in her home, known as the Parisian scoop. You lay it flat, once to the right, once to the left. When you scoop them out, you'll get a perfect round little ball. You can pot roast these, cut them out of cheese or cut them out of butter. When you're serving a fruit cocktail in the summertime, take your fresh cantaloupe, scoop them out like this, mix them with apples, pears, and watermelons, makes a delicious fruit cocktail served with a little cracked ice like you see here. But here's a tool, ladies, if you ever do get it, you'll thank the day you've seen this demonstration. When you press, it locks. It's like a pair of human hands. Reach in the oven and take the biscuits out of the oven. Ever take the hot potatoes out of the oven and burn yourself on the elbow? A roast chicken out of the oven, a piece of meat out of the pot, spinach, asparagus out of the water. Why, around canning season, when you're preserving the fruits, to take the hot fruit jars out of the water like that, that machine is worth dollars to you. And here's another one that I really know you'll enjoy having in your kitchen, known as the safety grater. No doubt you're familiar with the old-fashioned grater. I've seen ladies take a grater and rip the knuckles off. When you want to grate up potatoes for delicious potato pancakes, this has a smooth, flat edge, impossible to cut yourself. Just like you were washing clothes, you rub it up and down, and you really grate your vegetables real fine, retaining all the flavors and all the juices. Breadcrumbs for when you're serving veal cutlets or anything like that. You want a little breadcrumbs to fry your fish in? Why, there's the greatest proposition in the world. Use that for coconut, cheese, or horseradish. When you're through with it, just hit it down like that. That knocks all the food out. Rinse it out in a little water and hang it up and let it dry. Now, here is a stone made of carborundum and sapphire quartz, which is made purposely to keep these knives sharp. When they get dull, a few strokes over the edge like this, and you can put a keen cutting edge on it. If you have a dull knife or a dull pair of scissors, an old sickle or a scythe, a lawnmower, cleaver, an axe, there's a tool that will really put an edge on the knife, so the knife will really cut for you. I just want to give you an idea of how sharp that knife really is when you sharpen it with that stone. Ladies, I've seen some of you try to open up cans. Now, there's a can of Campbell's baked beans. I've seen ladies open up a can and you poke a hole in it, go around the top, hippity-hop, and your finger slips. Let me show you a real proposition. Look, lay it on the can, lift up the safety, and turn the key. That locks itself on the can. No harder than you were winding up your watch. Wind up the key and that'll cut the top off of the can slick and smooth. Notice how the end raises itself up in the air so you can lift the lid off, giving you a clean, smooth edge. Now, that can be used for sardine cans, square cans or round cans, exactly the same way. Now, this tool here, my dear friends, needs no introduction. This will save you on an average of $20 to $30 every year you use it as a peeling knife. Here's a grater for cheese, coconut, or horseradish, a fish scaler for scaling your fish, and when you're coring your apple, it's just a slight twist of the wrist, and there's the apple core. There's one more tool that I want you to see, and I want you to watch this one very closely. Many a times when you're baking a pie, you have a pudding in the oven. I've seen ladies wrap a towel around your hand, and many a times you burn your fingers. Hook this onto the pot like this and lift the hot pots off the top of the stove. You've got a pie pan in the oven, get a hold of the pie pan like this. Why, you couldn't get it off with a team of horses. This will positively lift 100 pounds. There's a pail of water weighs 50 or 60 pounds. That's the way you pick it up. But there's one more tool. I'll be all through and I'll be finished. Oh, now the next tool and the last one is what they call the Sarah Bernhardt cutter. This was invented by the head chef of the Imperial Hotel in the city of Berlin, Germany. You place the screw into the center of the vegetable. Twist the vegetable until the threads catch a hold, then you wind this up. You keep winding until you utilize the whole potato. The faster you turn, the quicker the slices. Why, ladies, here's a machine for slicing onions. The first onion that you slice with this cutter, you'll bless the day you've got a hold of it. Every slice cut exactly the same thickness. Every slice cut the same size. In making what they call a rosette, pull the vegetable out like this. Pin the ends together with a toothpick. Drop that potato into the hot fat and fry it. That will come out like a donut, golden brown. If you're serving a nice fish dinner, a little parsley goes in the center with the fish all around it, makes a very appetizing dish. Did you ever try to slice onions with a knife? You know how you get one thick slice and one thin slice? Run the knife through the center. That will separate each slice individual. Almost like magic, there is every slice cut exactly the same thickness and the same size. Wouldn't you like to have a set like this in your kitchen? Why, of course you would. Now, don't forget, attend this theater every week and receive this 12-piece fascinating... Ladies and gentlemen, the management of this theater takes great pleasure in making this announcement. To each lady attending this theater each week, will receive absolutely free a fascinating 12-piece kitchen cutlery set, one piece each time. It is really interesting and amazing to know how you can prepare your meals in an appetizing and pleasing manner. There's an old saying, and a true one, that what is pleasing to the eye is bound to be pleasing to the appetite. I'm going to demonstrate this set to you, and I want you to watch it very closely. The first cutter that I'm going to show you, now this first one is known as the Parisian cutter. Wind it through the potato like a corkscrew. When the cutter appears on the opposite side, pull the cutter out. Place the handle in the center and twist it out. This is what they call a French curl. When you fry these, they come out like donuts, nice and brown. Serve them with your steaks or pot roast them. Unwind it, there's two curls out of the one potato. Tomorrow morning for breakfast, wind a little strip of bacon around the potato and serve them with bacon and eggs. They're delicious. Different colored vegetables, wind them together and you get the two colors. Here's a little trick cut. Split the curl halfway through the center. If you're making a shrimp salad and you happen to run short of shrimp, mix these in with the regular shrimp. Upon my word, you couldn't tell the difference until you started to eat them. Now the rest of the potato, you stuff it. We'll call this a little chicken. We'll call this here some hamburger. You might have a little meat that's been laying in the ice box for a few days. Chop the meat up fine, season it highly, stuff it into the center of the potato and bake them with the skins on. When they're done, cut them in two. Serve them on the half shell just like that. Serve them in slices when company calls. The more company you have, the thinner you cut the slices. If your mother-in-law calls, give her a beak piece like that. Now the second tool in the set is known as the garnishing knife. Everything you cut with this must come out fancy. Watch this, please. You cut down, you turn the potato, and then you cut through the edge. First one way and then the other. Sweet potatoes cut like this, drop them into a little batter of pancake flour and fry them. When they're golden brown, sprinkle molasses on them. Serve them with strips of bacon for breakfast. Why, they're delicious. Here's beets, you pickle them, and carrots, you steam or cream them. In making the original French fried potato, cut them in thick slices. Put them one on top of each other. Cross-cut the slices, and you'll never eat a French fry any other way. The potatoes cut like this will not absorb the fat because they're garnished around. Pineapples cut for your pineapple and cheese salad, cut in the same way. Here is one, and this is a dandy. Cuts any thickness or any size. Open it for a thick slice, close to the top for a thin slice. Saratoga chips, you can make them for 3 or 4 pennies a pound. Just pull the blade towards you like this. If you want the slices thicker than this, open the blade, there's a thick slice. Shoestrings for your Friday fish dinner, cut them down like this. Chop them up for your vegetable soup. What this knife is really intended for is for cutting the cabbage. You know the old-fashioned board, how you rip and tear, sometimes nipping the ends off your fingers. Lay it flat and pull it lightly towards you over the cabbage. The weight of the knife across the cabbage is all that's necessary. Why, ladies, when you get slaw cut as fine as this, you'll certainly appreciate eating it. The crowning feature of the set is the cutter that I'm going to show you now. This is known as the Champeen Vegetable Mincing Knife and Noodle Cutter. Now, when you want to make some real fine noodles at home, you roll the dough out like this. Dip this into a little flour so it doesn't stick to the dough, and as you roll it over the dough, that will cut the noodles in long strips, 10 at a time. Did you ever try to chop up a little nuts for cake? Why, I've seen ladies chop nuts and the nuts land up on the ceiling. Sometimes you chop the ends off your fingers. When you want to chop up a little nuts for cake, cooked meat, clams for chowder, soup greens to throw into your soup, making a little pepper or chicken hash is just a few strokes rolling it up and down. Why, here is without a doubt the meanest thing in the world to cut parsley. Put that in a grinder, you really grind it too fine. This machine, instead of crushing the parsley, cuts it quick.
Hello everyone, how we doing this evening? Sort of a light dinner plan tonight. I'm not gonna go crazy with tons of recipes. Hopefully everyone's having a good evening. Thank you so much for that sub Shadowtronics. Welcome, Trigger. So, gonna start here by getting the oven going and figuring out what's going on with my potatoes here, because something's amiss here. Something's looking perhaps a little funky going on in here. Not cool. Yeah, something funky going on in there. Lovely. So we'll give those all a good wash now. Hopefully everyone's having a good Wednesday. I've had a pretty good weekend for myself here since my last stream on Sunday. Okay, those are looking a little bit better now. And so I'm going to actually use a little paper towel here to dry out this bowl real quick. Reduce a little bit of the moisture in here. I'm not worried about getting them completely dry, but I'm also not worried about the few sprouts that we got going on here. That's not a big deal. Storming, it is actually not that bad here. We have had just hot, and it's still warm, but we're high 70s Fahrenheit instead of 90s Fahrenheit, and we're mid 20s or instead of 30 in Celsius. So for our potatoes, since we got the oven going already, we're gonna need pepper, salt, MSG, and I'm going to use oil instead of lard, even though I have all the lard in the world right now, because we need liquid. Coat these guys. Ooh, sorry to hear that, Turger. Hope your head feels better. I don't get them very often, but I used to get them when I was younger. The last thing here, I'm going to drizzle a little if you're new to the stream, I've fermented garlic and honey, which loosens the honey up considerably. There's only 3 ingredients in this. There's garlic, there's honey, and there's a little bit of apple cider vinegar to manage that pH above botulism levels. And they'll give us a little bit of sweetness on the outside of these, even though it's mostly going to be roasted in. And sheet pan with parchment. Why, what's up, Shadowtronics? And we'll wait for the oven to heat up before I throw those in. got peas, corn. Okay. Double checking I'm not going insane and I have enough. They had to remove. Oh. That sounds downright horrible. And that's coming from someone that had his back children teeth broken off and the roots pulled out because the roots were growing around my adult teeth. Well, at least hopefully you're not feeling too much pain. How long of a recovery are they talking for something like that? That just, ugh. We got that. Let's start in on our dressing. That way I'll allow it to chill in the fridge a little bit here and pull the rest of this buttermilk out. And at the same time, remember that I have rosemary that is on the very edge of its life here. Yeah, that's starting to go. I'll just put not even that's worth it. That's gone. I was gonna put a piece of rosemary with the potatoes. I enjoy rosemary with my roasted potatoes, but that one was going black. It had been in the fridge too long. It was the last of the container. That time's done for too. We have new time though. No other but stuff I want to throw on there. Oh. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all, Shadowtronics. I'm sort of half winging this buttermilk dressing or sauce here. We're not straying too far from ranch. I'm just going to make my own mayo for the most part. Well, hey, at least you're not worried about going out and being seen. Let's save the eggs for later. All right, oven's to temp. Gonna throw the taters in. We'll take a gander at them in about 40 minutes. Just for myself. For tonight, tomorrow. Tomorrow's not usually as glamorous as tonight. And actually, I'm not even really that hungry tonight, so I may just leave the potatoes for tomorrow. I just finished up the last of the beans, and I mixed the taco meat in with the beans from past streams. And I had that for lunch today. Let's do a half cup of buttermilk. We're going to start with the oil in here, though. Just get a start of a mayo going here. Hey, Davey. How you doing this evening? Welcome. That was a bit much oil here, making sure I get that all mixed in here. You want to start off pretty slow when you're making an emulsion. Though I swear half of it is just your confidence. It's like it senses whether you're worried of it actually breaking. I am doing quite lovely this evening. Rather peaceful and easygoing dinner tonight. Working on making a buttermilk dipping sauce, not too different here from, say, ranch. I mean, it's basically a buttermilk ranch base, but I'm not going herby with it. So I'm starting with a little bit of a basic mayo type. Here, emulsifying a little bit of oil and an egg yolk, and use that to thicken up the buttermilk. Potatoes are already in the oven starting to roast, and I haven't started in on the corn fritters. I don't have fresh corn. I'm normally a big farmer's market junkie. I just haven't been. Those flowers are a week old from the farmer's market. Prime example why you should shop at a farmer's market. I got those last Wednesday. Oh, you guys can't hardly see. And my windows are locked. Let's see here. Those flowers. Wednesday is tonight, and Wednesday is typically my alcohol-free night these days. Whereas tend to have some wine or mixed drink or something here on Friday and Sunday. So that's not a hard and fast rule. A lot of people just go straight for the blender for this these days. It is a little less stressful. But I'm making such a small amount here that, especially when you're only working with like one egg yolk, it's pretty hard to get a blender started with that. You basically have to start it by hand and then get it going in the blender once you have enough oil in there. Absolutely. That's been getting harder though. It's been more difficult for farmers markets to do that. At least around here. You notice that has at least a little bit of thickness to it now compared to where it was before. Oh, that's not working either. I'm going to change that timer and turn that off. I'll be right back. Come on, monitors. Wake up. There we go. Okay. That's a shame that my bot can't call my emotes there. Oh yeah, that's right. My bot's only a level. Okay, now let's go into adding in buttermilk. Yep. Good old thick buttermilk. Would be lumpy if I didn't shake it up there. Thank you for the host. My host animation didn't fire. Okay. And to this we'll add little, let's see what all we can find here that's interesting to throw in there. Wow. Second batch of this just absolutely ruined. Going straight to Clump Town here on my onion powder. But adding in about a teaspoon of onion powder there. A couple shakes of cayenne. Give that a little heat. A little white pepper too. And do I still have? That's not what I'm looking for. I might have to put that on my shopping list. Okay. I was gonna put some mustard powder in there, but I don't got any real mustard powder that I want to put in there, and most of the mustards that I have in there are heavy duty. The Dijon that I've got in there, it's like horseradish practically. It's a little thinner than I want, but it'll be okay. I'd be going for a stabilizer in a restaurant. But I don't feel like, I have it, I think. Yep. Who knows how old it is. But I have xanthan gum. So we'll do a small pinch of that in here, and that will thicken things right up. And we'll let that sit in the fridge and become nice and yummy. Onion, we got tang, we got a little bit of spice in there. Felt that blade. It's close. Apologize if you guys hear the trash truck. So, thinking tonight's gonna be, I keep saying this since like the last week and a half here. I've been saying like practically every stream, it's gonna be a quick one. Well, it's gonna be a quick one. If anyone in the chat here is new to the channel, I am Jason. I cook here 3 nights a week. Former mixer streamer. Been cooking all my life. professionally most of my life. I've owned a small mobile kitchen that I'm not currently using, but I've ran a small business out of 5 of the last 7 years, working at farmers markets and other things, and I've worked professionally all over the place in all sorts of different kitchens and all sorts of techniques and bad habits. So I have next to no memory, so while I sit here and tell you that I've been working in kitchens and all this stuff all the time, I have next to no recall for, oh, that's that technique or that process. I know the technique or the process. I just can't tell you the name. I'm not going to tell you the date. That sort of a thing. But I do try and change things up regularly and keep things fresh and different. Like tonight we're doing corn fritters, which inspiration is mostly the National Day tomorrow. But I like corn, fresh corn. Going back to talking about farmers markets, as I was earlier, I actually think they're one of the safer options out there for going and buying stuff if they're still open around you. They are still open here in California, even with the huge shutdown. And I think they're set up to be safer because they're a temporary setup. They can set their stands up distances away. You're not forced into preset aisles and all that sort of stuff. And it's all outdoors. Gonna throw this in the fridge. Oops. Let me see what we got going on here, making sure that this isn't setting up on me weird here. That's just a piece of spice or something there. That's maybe a piece of onion powder. Okay. So we have one of my packages of lard here from the pig I butchered here on stream, and let's go over here. I'm going to throw that into the pan. We'll use this for our frying oil tonight. That may be too much. Since that spoon's already dirty with the lard, I'll just leave it there. Let that slowly melt. While I'm up to that, we're gonna chop up a little garlic here. Got myself some local garlic now. That's probably good for tonight's adventures. Let's leave that off for now. I'm not going fancy here with this, obviously. I'm just mashing the junk out of it. Actually, I'm going about this wrong. Get to use my new toy now. Actually, I gotta clean this first. But I showed you guys yesterday, or last Sunday, I broke my old one. So I threw it in the toolbox and got this guy. So, new bench scraper. Went for wood instead of plastic this time. Not 100% sold if I did the right thing or not. I generally like wood better than plastic. And so, separate to our lard that's heating up over here, I'm going to get a second pan going. I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter to this recipe for the fritters because I want to add the garlic, but I don't want to add raw garlic in there because even though we're cooking the fritters, there's a good possibility that some of that garlic is going to be in the middle of that fritter. And that garlic is not going to cook enough to get rid of that harsh raw garlic flavor. And so instead, what I'm going to do is melt some butter and simmer the garlic in the butter so that flavor gets both cooked through and distributed throughout the fritters. That's on a really low heat. There's going to be no sizzle there really at all. You could do a little saute, you could do a little color, but I'm just looking to get it warmed up and cooked through for this. It's going to cook again in the fritter mix, in the fritter batter for the most part. But like I said, that centerpiece wouldn't otherwise. And so I'm going to get started with the dry ingredients for the fritters. While that's going back behind me here. That looks like a good can. Don't. That's going to spray at me again when I turn it on. There we go. So we still get a little sizzle anyways, but the mic isn't on over here. There we go. Doing 3/4 cup of AP flour. This is one of my older recipes, so I'm trying to find metrics of most of my newer recipes just because these cups are horribly inaccurate. I'm gonna cut that garlic now. That's gotten enough cooking now. That's just gonna chill out. I get enough flour on me. Let's see here. How hot is our oil getting here? It's getting up there in temp, so I'm going to cut that off for a little while and just let that hang out. We're not quite ready with our fritters or our potatoes. We still got another 13 minutes on the potatoes here. And I'm going to throw the garlic and the oil in with the liquids for this, so not going to use this for a little while. Let's see, what else do I have in my recipe here? A little cornmeal. About a tablespoon of cornmeal here, just to give you that little bit of corn grit. Sugar, I'll use sugar in the raw out of my coffee. Put out another tablespoon there. Baking soda. Baking powder. Lots of baking powder. We want these things to rise. And we got plenty of sugar in that corn on top of the sugar that we added in there to counteract what bitterness we're going to get from that powder. Good pinch of salt here. I might add a bunch of black pepper. It's not an original recipe though. And a pinch more cayenne. Okay, that's our dry ingredients. I'm also going to substitute buttermilk into this recipe because I need to use up buttermilk. We got 2 eggs here. just mixing these like I would for, say, scrambled eggs or something like that. We want to break down those whites so that they're no longer holding their strength together. A little bit more. Ooh. Got it. And quarter cup of milk, or in our case, buttermilk. Still got buttermilk. Wow. Excuse me. Cooking for myself, not others. No, I try to keep my hands clean and I try to keep a good standard, but at the same time, cooking for myself, not for others. Take our garlic and butter and add that in with our buttermilk and egg. We'll set that aside to be mixed in there, and then we'll do our last set of stuff to mix together. That's going to be our jalapeno and our corn. But we want to wait to mix everything together until we're ready for everything else. Forgot I had that cucumber. I used that for something before it goes bad. Wow, that's an interesting looking jalapeno there. I guess it's just got a dimple. I'm actually doubling the amount of jalapeno in this. I'm not normally a big hot spicy guy, but I don't think a jalapeno is deathly hot. Gonna have to work on the edge on this guy. May actually be a little bit. We'll see how it breaks in. And we've got all that done. We've got all that done. Cool. Let's make sure our oil's going up to temp here. We're basically ready to go. Burner's getting too hot with the stove on. So I'm going to very carefully try and move this oil across to the other side here. And hope that he wants to start up instead. Best thing ever about cast iron pans. Took my onion and garlic in there, just gave it a quick rinse, and we'll throw that on the back burner and dry that out. Be ready to go again. And we're going to be using 1.5 cups of frozen corn. Oh, shut up, oven. I'll be there in a second. We'll give those 5 more minutes of cook time here. I'm basically just going to do this bag. By weight, I should probably be doing another 2 ounces of corn there, but I think that's going to be good. So I'm going to live with that. Yeah, the timers throw me off every once in a while too, because I forget who that was. I remember early on, I was watching back on Mixer, someone, and their stuff was going off in their kitchen, and the way it sounded with my stereo speakers, it sounded like my oven was going off, and I was like, there you go with you. Okay. So we can mix our corn and our jalapeno in with our dry ingredients here. I'm going to wait to mix in the wet ingredients until the very, very end here. But doing this will make sure that all of our corn gets coated in flour and jalapeno gets coated in flour so that it makes a nice solid fritter. We have flame back on our oil here. Let's see where our oil is looking at. Ooh, our oil needs more heat. We're down around 180 right now. Can do a little of this action here. And a little of this action. See if we can't. See if we can't get you to stay. Please stay. Plastic on this is no crumbling too. Okay. I'm not going to toy with that anymore. By the way, don't buy these if you're going to put it over a stove like I have. These lovely arms that I have for my webcams, they work great, but they do not handle sitting over an oven. And I don't know if it's the heat. I don't think it gets a ton of heat, but it may get some. I think it's the smoke and the chemicals and the oil particulates break down the plastic. I mean, it's literally the handle as I was just touching it here. Just crumbled into pieces. The plastic's just breaking apart. And so I'm gonna have to, I haven't bought it, but I've already been searching for a replacement for that that's, for this guy that's all metal that I can mount somewhere else. See how our taters are looking. They're feeling like they're cooked. So those are looking decent to me. Set those down here to cool for a little bit. How's our oil looking here now? Now we're getting there. Oh, we started off at 270, but we're looking 240-ish average, maybe 240, 250. We're pretty down 230 over on this cold side, so I'm gonna give that pan a turn. It'll shake the oil up, but it'll also change where the hot points on the pan are. I think we're set with the knife for right now. Let's use the dirty one from earlier. Mix up our egg, buttermilk, and butter and garlic. A lot of people throw chives in here. I was planning on throwing chives in these fritters, but if you were here on Sunday, you saw me throw them out because they were getting too old, and I haven't gone out shopping, so. Many people will throw a bunch of chives in there too. That'll make it nice and green and pretty. The garlic and the butter is sort of my addition. I mean, what doesn't taste better with garlic and butter? And I don't know, I should check my recipe for this, but I was just assuming this was probably going to be a 325, but let's see what temp we need this to be. Where is that recipe? Well, you know, coming up with immediate search. There it is. Oh, they're just, okay. Maybe we'll go a little bit warmer then. Let's shoot 350-ish. Or not quite 300 here. Yep, definitely need to change that for the bot. Wish I could just give my bot a tier 3 without paying for it. I mean, it's my own channel. Yeah, that tier 2. Or you can pay 10K bits to have it permanently. How you doing, Glass? Welcome. That is not near. Well, maybe we got a batter here. That is not as loose as I remember it. Maybe it's the cold corn freezing things up and locking it up a bit. That's looking all right, I guess. Okay. Not too shabby, not too shabby, not too bad. Been pretty good, actually. Haven't done a whole lot, though. Not loving being stuck at home, but I don't think anyone is. Okay, so we're switching to serving spoons here for throwing these guys in the fryer. How are you, Glass? Excuse me. actually thinking I might hand form these. Yeah, these guys are pulled enough with the corn that I'm just going to hand form them into patties and drop them in. Maybe do 2 or 3 at a time here. Dropping them into the oil away from myself. And I don't know if it's obvious, but those are floating now. Barely. You can do this in much less oil. I mean, you can just straight up pan sear these guys. Turn on this mic so you can hear what's going on over here. Need a drying rack for these guys. This guy looks like he's ready to flip. That guy not so much. Trying to pour a bunch of oil down the center of this guy because the center of this one, it almost broke in half on me when I flipped it, and so I give that a little extra attention. Try and let that cook a bit more. I need to set up a second chat on this side over here so I can actually see what's going on while I'm still facing my stove. That one last, see how we're looking there. We'll finish on that side. And I'm gonna hit these with fine salt after I take them off. Typically, I use kosher salt for just about everything and grab a little, know exactly how much I have when I'm grabbing it with my fingers because it's got that thicker grind to it. But I find, and I've read, and after reading, I find that it bounces off the fried foods because it's too big, it's too. And so I go with the finer salt when I pull things out of the fryer or finish frying them. And so pull out the fine salt grinder, throw a little on top. there, quick come back over here, get ourselves another 2 fritters going. I'm going to take the first batch of fritters here and throw these down in the oven to stay warm while the second batch is cooking. Don't have the oven on anymore, but with it set at 400 degrees for the potatoes, it's still a little bit warm in there. Now watch someone hit my hydrate button for the first time. Also, Kevin, if you're hanging around here, I don't know if you're here or not. I don't know who's in chat. I don't pay attention, really. Thank you for the follow. That was shortly before I got started streaming tonight. About 2 hours now. Let's take these and make these a little bit more. Actually, we can throw these back in the oven to keep these going warm, too. These don't need to sit out here and go get cold, too. Did you finish up that painting you were working on, Glass, or are you still on that? Give myself some more water. So I've been questioning what I want to do as far as I'm sort of thinking. I bought 3 of these shirts, and I'm thinking I'm gonna do some printing on them. I think I'm gonna put my logo on them, but I haven't decided if I should go high on the shoulder here, where it's not blocked, but when I'm here, you can see it easily. It's sort of an odd place, but it sort of shows off that I did it myself, I think, versus also the more traditional just on the sleeve. Still leaning towards upper shoulder, but I'm a little worried that it's going to be too funky. That's a little warmer than I wanted to grab. Ooh, it's starting to smell like corn in here. Yeah, you need a little bit more time. You're looking gorgeous though. You're just pretty. Pretty out of focus, but you're pretty. Fine salt grind. Down in the oven. Maybe this guy be a little too hefty. He's a little too thick. In fact, I'm sort of debating. I think I'm going to crack open this guy a little bit just to get that interior to cook a little bit more when I flip him over. Check on some things here while that cooks. Hit salt there. Starting with. I think, don't know if I'm going to do 4 out of that or not. I think I'm probably only going to get 3 out of that. So let's see if I can fit all 3 in here at once. Even though it'll take a little bit longer. So to give you an idea, I don't know if I've been able to show, if this has been showing up on camera or not. Give you an idea of what I'm doing here. It's actually a thick enough dough that, especially with my hands, a little bit of water on them, is it's going to release, but allow me to flatten it out into a pancake. And so I'm just doing that a little bit by hand and then rolling it into the oil. And this is what we've got for our first four. First batch were a little bit lighter. And these guys I cooked, this guy was the one that I'm not 100% sold on, and he was a little bit too thick, I think. Allergies just going nuts this year. I don't know if it's just because I'm spending more time inside and scrubbing my hands every 30 seconds or what, but my allergies are so much worse this year than they have been in past years. Just like my nose is running, that sort of stuff. I used to spend a lot more time outside in the farmers markets too, though. Getting all the raw dough off of my fish spatula here for the last touching of the stuff, so none of the raw stuff is touching the final finished pieces. Yeah, that's I need to find myself, I'm going to use a fish and chips bowl. Or one of my old used to serve soup in those. But they're good for fish and chips, which I used it for before this year, and I think it'll look nice for this too. No. There's eggs in the fritters, and yeah, eggs. And I'm serving it with a butter. It's been a while since dinner command's fired. And I got a buttermilk dipping sauce I made earlier. thickened up a little bit. Not quite sure what that is. But thickened buttermilk dressing, or essentially ranch without as much no, it's still not no, it's not vegetarian. If it was just cheese and oil, I might consider it vegetarian, but no, eggs definitely not vegetarian. Sort of a chill evening, just sort of hanging out and frying, and no real rush to anything. Hopefully everything's good on your end. Good to hear. I'm going to turn the heat off of that oil there and let those coast the rest of the way. You got our already finished fritters here. These first guys almost look pale now. Almost want to throw those back in there. In fact, I might do just that. This guy looks great. This guy's looking good too for... Yeah, I'm okay with him too. Give those a bit of fine salt. This guy was maybe a bit thick too, but he just puffed up. That's all that baking powder in there. You saw when I put those in, they weren't thicker than one or maybe 1.5 kernels thick. They all ended up being 3 or 4. You know, they ended up being decent sized guys, thickness. So I'm glad I didn't go higher with my frying. Alright, so I think I'm going to start with a couple of these guys in the fryer. And I'm going to kick the heat back up on that. Because those guys do need a minute more here compared to the rest of these. The rest of these are great. So, start with this guy. Grab our roasted fingerling potatoes. And if I had some chives, I'd hit that with a flash of chives. That's yeah, you can do that, jammies. I'm going to, what I will do with the oil, this is the first time I've used it. It's the lard that I rendered off of the pig. The oil cooking that I rendered off the pig. What I'll do is I'll wait until tomorrow. I'll let it cool completely. It'll also allow a lot of the sediment and stuff like that from the frying to settle. In the morning, I'll warm it up to 140-ish, 150-ish. And you don't want to go any hotter than that. You really only need to get over 100. And I'll run it through a filter cone that I use specifically for filtering my oil, and a coffee filter that I put inside of it. And so, and then even then, I don't want to use it a ton of times, but you can use it a couple of times. And what's going to hurt you the most from that is how much seasoning and how much flavoring you're using, and also how much meat you're using, because the fats are going to render and that'll mix up different oils in there. And then just keep it in your fridge, or since it's lard, probably could keep it at room temp. But if you've used it, I'd probably throw it in the fridge, because anything that's left in there could potentially send it south. I've got a bunch of other frying oil that I've already got down there that I've used several times. So, use them for different things. And, you know, like, if you're using the oil, it's not the type of oil that you're going to want to use for, say, if you're doing a delicate fish or something with really light flavors. You're not going to use oil that you used for frying chicken last week. So I'm just finishing cooking up these last two that I decided didn't have enough color on them initially. I turned off the stove so you can't see what's going on there. Let's do a bit better than we were before. So we got dinner tonight and lunch and dinner tomorrow there. Heat off, all ovens off, oil's off, and we got dinner set. So I'm going to take a photo here for the Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. Try and get it in a square photo too, so that it works for my slideshow. Come on. Alright. Now let's see who I can't send you guys off to have a good evening here. Let's see who's around this evening. Why don't we go say hello to, I think she will work nicely. Gonna send you off to Miss Reanimate her. If you're unfamiliar, she is our mistress of horror here on Twitch, and she is doing a Just Chat about some of that lovely horror and fun stuff. She was a great partner on Mixer, and she's a lovely person for you guys to follow if you haven't already found her before. And I hope you all have a lovely night. Have a good night.